What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video we're going to be talking about some real life Michael Scofield prison escapes, just like in the TV show Prison Break. In fact, some of these prison escapes I'm going to be telling you about in this video probably rival that of what we saw in the TV show featuring Michael Scofield, Lincoln Burrows, and old Teabag, amongst a few others. And the reason I'm deciding to do this video is because just yesterday there was another escape from a jail, not a prison, but from a jail involving 12 prisoners. And I'm going to be telling you all about that in this video along with everything else. But before we get to that, there's one other very important story that I want to start with. So without further ado, what do you say we just go ahead and dive head first into this video. This first story that I want to tell you about doesn't deal with any sort of escapes, but this is crazy nonetheless, and this happened in a jail back in 2016, and video of this incident is just now being released as there is a major lawsuit because of this entire situation. But back in November of 2016, a young 18-year-old guy by the name of Jordan Norris was arrested on a whole list of charges and taken to a place called Chatham County City Jail in Tennessee. And I'm going to give you guys all of the information I have on this case. That way you guys can make your own determination of what you actually think about all of this. But again, 18-year-old Jordan Norris was arrested back in November of 2016, and he was arrested for charges that include felony possession and manufacturing of marijuana, which basically means that he was growing and selling weed, possession of drug paraphernalia, theft under $500, 5 counts of possession of a prohibited weapon, and that could mean getting caught with a handgun at 18 years old, where you have to be 21 years old to actually be in possession of a handgun, and it could have been like 5 different handguns that he was caught in possession of. Vandalism of over $1,000, and also simple assault. Now again, this guy had a lot of charges, so without question this guy definitely deserved to be getting locked up. But what happened to him when he got locked up, I'm really not so sure he deserved that. But when this guy was taken to the jail, he was in booking, and it was there where they were beginning to process him into the jail. And allegedly it was there where he started to have an altercation with some other prisoner down there, and guards thought that he was going to try to fight this guy. So because of that, they tried to put handcuffs on him, and the entire time he's resisting their attempts to put these handcuffs on him. So when this happens, obviously more guards get involved with trying to restrain this guy, and what they attempt to do next is put him in something that me and Dave have talked about here before on After Prison Show. Before Dave ever got locked up, we told all of you what the buck chair was, and this is a chair where they strap you down when you're just not doing right inside of the jail for whatever reason. So because this guy was resisting the attempts of officers to put handcuffs on him, they then attempted to put him in the buck chair, or as they like to call it, the restraint chair. And the story goes on to say that he was still continuing to resist while officers were trying to get him in this buck chair. Now, whether or not this guy was still attempting to resist, I mean, I'm sure he was. But there were like 3 officers who were caught on video doing what they were gonna do next. You mean to tell me that these 3 officers couldn't subdue one guy and get straps on him while trying to put him in this buck chair? That really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and seeing the video of this guy, he really doesn't look like all that much of a guy that 3 officers should be having that much of a problem with. But allegedly these 3 officers were having that much difficulty with this one person, and because of that they decided to tase this 18-year-old guy repeatedly on video. And when seeing the video of this incident, I mean, this is absolutely, I was gonna say shocking, but that's not the right term to be using in this case. But this is just an unbelievable video to watch as these 3 officers hold this guy down while one officer is just continuously tasing this guy all over his body. Jordan Norris would end up spending 3 hours strapped down in this buck chair, and the story really doesn't say how long officers continued to repeatedly tase this guy. But 2 weeks later he would be bonded out of jail, and mind you, after 2 weeks this guy had over 40 taser burns that were still visible on his body after 2 weeks of him being in this jail. Again, this incident happened while he was down in booking, so more than likely this happened as soon as he got to the jail. And after 2 weeks he still got over 40 visible taser burns on his body. The 3 officers who were visible in this video have been placed on administrative leave while an investigation is underway. Now it's kind of crazy to think about this. This happened back in 2016. It's midway through 2017, and it's sounding like like just now this investigation is taking place. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. But Jordan Norris has filed a lawsuit against the sheriff's department because of what happened to him while he was in the jail. And who knows what the outcome of this is going to be. Do you think this guy's still going to end up having to serve time for all of these damn charges that he was locked up for? Do you think he should be eligible for some sort of monetary reward for having to go through this? Or do you feel like he probably got what he deserved? And I really want to hear what all of you have to say and what you think about this situation. With that story being mentioned, let's go ahead and move on to some escapes. In fact, one of these prison escapes that I'm going to tell you about is pretty much verbatim for how Michael Scofield, Lincoln Burrows, and old Teabag, amongst a few others, escaped in season 1 of one of my favorite TV shows, Prison Break. But just yesterday in Jasper, Alabama, at a place called Walker County Jail, 12 prisoners were able to escape from this jail. Now, lips are absolutely sealed at this point as to how these 12 prisoners were able to escape, but I want to tell you some really crazy things in relation to this story. One, this jail in Jasper, Alabama only houses 250 prisoners. So 12 of the 250 prisoners housed there somehow were able to escape from this place yesterday, and I'm really trying to figure out what the percentage, what's 12% of 250? But 12 of these 250 prisoners housed here were somehow able to escape yesterday. And of the 12 that did escape, I mean, these guys were locked up for all sorts of different charges, including attempted murder, first-degree robbery. I mean, a lot of the charges that the guys who did this had were pretty bad charges. And of all 12 who did escape yesterday, 11 of them have been captured thus far, only leaving one sole prisoner still out there on the run. 24-year-old Brady Kilpatrick. Of all 12 of the guys who escaped, this is the only guy who still remains at large. And of all of the crazy charges that these guys who attempted to escape had, Brady Kilpatrick, he was locked up for drug offenses. You would think, or at least I think, that of all of these guys who attempted to get away, the guys who were facing the most time with the worst charges, in my mind, those would be the ones who would be captured last, as they would probably be a lot smarter and evasive after escaping from this jail. But yet that's not the case at all, because it's Brady Kilpatrick, 24 years old, sitting in jail for some drug offenses. Why in the hell would you escape from jail if you've got drug offenses? I mean, let's just be honest here. Maybe you're facing 5, 10 years. I mean, that's a lot of time. I can understand how escape could come to your mind, but my God, facing 5 or 10 years and then adding on an extra 5 or 10 years for an escape charge, it really doesn't seem worth it to me at all. But then again, on the flip side, I mean, I do get it. While serving my 7 years, I gotta be honest with you, escape crossed my mind more than a few times. But I don't think I ever was gonna do it. I mean, I don't think. If I had the opportunity, I mean, who knows? Maybe I would still be locked up now because I had escaped and gotten caught and gotten more time. Because I have to tell you, there's not very many people who do escape who stay escaped for very long. And there's one last little tidbit I want to give to you guys that involves this escape down in Alabama. And that is that residents down there said that if they spotted any of these guys, I don't think they were really worried about the reward, because they were going to go ahead and shoot to kill these guys who escaped. So can you imagine escaping from jail when you're sitting in jail on drug offenses, and then you know that people are out there trying to kill you? That has got to be absolutely terrifying. And again, authorities haven't released any information how these 12 prisoners were able to escape from this jail. But while I was reading up on this escape, I ran across a few other escapes where details were released of how these prisoners were able to escape themselves. And I gotta tell you that some of these escapes seem like they're right out of TV shows and movies. In fact, just last month at Lincoln County Jail in Oklahoma, 4 prisoners there were able to escape through an air conditioning ventilation system, somehow removing the cover from that vent, and the 4 of these guys were able to crawl through this air conditioning ventilation system and escape from jail. Now, if that's not so crazy, then add to that the fact that it was the second time that 3 of these 4 prisoners who escaped through this air conditioning ventilation system had done the exact same thing, escaping a prior time right through the vents of a jail. Now, it doesn't say whether or not they escaped from the same jail and in the same AC vent system, but again, this was the second time that 3 of these 4 prisoners had escaped using the same damn escape plan. You know, with that, you would think the guards would probably try to house those 3 guys in cells that don't have any sort of vents in them, or at least in cells that have vents too small for people to actually get into them. And you know, that's another crazy thing to think about. Why in the hell would a jail or a prison have AC vents in the cells big enough for prisoners to actually get inside of those? You would think that when constructing a jail or a prison, that would be something you would keep in mind. Hey, let's try not to include inside of every single cell vents that are big enough for prisoners to fit inside of them. And you know, with this escape that happened last month, the last that I saw of this story was from an article back in June actually, but it said that one of these guys was still on the run. Now, I'm not sure if he's been captured since then or not, but I really couldn't find any information telling me so. And who knows, maybe if one of these prisoners is still on the run, what do you think he's doing out there? Maybe he's gotten far enough away where he's actually been able to start a whole new life. Maybe he's got a job now. Maybe he's actually out there as an HVAC mechanic doing air conditioning work. Because it sure seemed that these 4 prisoners knew a hell of a lot about ACs. This last escape that I want to tell you about is absolutely Michael Scofield in real life. Now, if you think back to season 1 of Prison Break and how all of those guys were able to actually begin their escape, it all started with them removing the toilet and sink unit in a cell. That way they could crawl through the walls and actually get out. Well, do you know there was an escape that took place that was exactly verbatim for how it went down in Prison Break? And this is crazy to think about because season 1 of Prison Break was years ago. And this escape that happened in real life happened in 2016. And real quick, some really ironic similarities to throw out there. 2016, when this escape happened, was the same year Jordan Norris was tased over 40 times in a jail. And where this escape happened wasn't in the same jail where Jordan Norris was tased, but it happened in the same state, in Tennessee, at a place called Cock County Jail. What an unusual name for a jail. Hey, I'm over here in Cock County, in the jail. And at Old Cock County Jail, 6 prisoners were able to rip the toilet and sink unit off of the wall in a cell, leaving a hole in the wall big enough for all 6 of these guys to get through that hole. And what they came upon once going inside of that hole behind that toilet in that cell was just a thin metal door that they were able to kick open. And once kicked open, the free world was literally right there on the other side of that thin metal door. Now, with as Prison Break-ish and Michael Scofield-ish as this jailbreak escape was, these 6 guys did not stay on the run for very long. In fact, the very last of these guys was recaptured 36 hours after escaping. That's not even a full 2 days. And you know, it is the craziest thing to think about, all of the intricate planning and precise strategizing that has to go into successfully pulling off an escape. You think about just how much it takes to actually get out of a jail or a prison and how much planning and attention to detail that's going to require. And then once actually escaped, it seems like in almost every single case, none of these prisoners who do this stay gone for very long. So, you know, with as similar as this jailbreak was to what actually takes place in season 1 of Prison Break, one major difference that's easy to recognize is the fact that nobody who ever does this in real life ever really stays gone anywhere near as long as the guys who did this in the TV show. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know what you think about any or all of these stories that we've talked about here. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!